Hi, I'm Becky Bloomfield. I'm the Field to Fork Coordinator for the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to process a wild turkey. I'm going to show you how to remove the beard and the fan, and then we're going to process out the breast meat, the thighs, and the drumsticks. To begin, it is important that we have our turkey tagged, telechecked, and marked on our harvest log. I already have this one recorded, so we're going to get started. You don't need a lot of tools for processing a turkey. I'm going to use a fillet knife out of my Outdoor Edge kit here. I like a fillet knife because it has a long thin blade and a nice sharp point on it. I'm also going to be wearing disposable gloves so that I can keep the meat clean, and then I have gallon bags to put the meat in after I've processed it off the bone. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is remove the beard. The beard is modified feathers that are typically found on male turkeys. So to remove the beard, we're going to grab it close to the base of the body and give it a quick yank. If you're not comfortable with that method, you can cut it at the base and then just remove any excess feathers or meat before you preserve it. To preserve the beard, you can package it in borax at the base and leave it sit for about a month. A lot of hunters like to keep the fan of a turkey either as a mount or as a way to entice turkeys in the following season. To remove it, we're going to grab all of the feathers, pull it back up against the back of the bird, and make a cut just above the cloaca. Once you have the fan removed, you want to trim as much meat off of the base as possible before you preserve it. To preserve the tail fan, you're going to pin it down open on a piece of cardboard and then pack that end in borax and leave it sit just like you did the beard. So now we have our beard and our fan ready to be preserved. Now we're going to move on to processing the meat. To process the meat out, I'm actually going to flip the turkey onto its back and rotate it around. We're going to start with the breast meat and then we'll move on to the legs. So to begin cutting the breast meat out, we're first going to make an incision on the chest bone. So we're just going to make a small cut through the skin, and then we're going to open it up a little bit with our fingers here. Once we have it opened up a little bit, we can flip our knife over and start cutting from the inside out to finish making a cut the length of the breast. The reason you want to cut from the inside out is to keep your knife blade clean. It allows the blade to move between the feathers instead of cutting through the feathers and creating a bunch of fuzzy bits that will stick to your meat. So this cut just goes up about 4 inches, and then I'm going to come down a little bit as well. Still cutting from the inside out, and we're just cutting that skin to open it up. Okay. Now we're going to skin the turkey on the left and right side to expose the breast meat. So I'm going to use my offhand to pull tension on the skin, which gives me a good idea on where to run my knife blade. You want to skin the turkey up towards the armpit of the bird, up under the wing, and also down towards the hip joint. We got that side skinned out, so let's work on the other side. And we're just going to skin this side the exact same way. Sometimes you can use your hands to peel the skin away instead of making so many cuts. Again, you just want to work this skin down to the hip joint and up under the wings. So now that we've got the breast meat exposed, we've peeled this skin all the way back, and you can see that 2 beautiful pieces of breast meat, one on each side. Before we begin to cut the breast meat, I want to show you the distinguished difference between this soft tissue here, which is the crop, and the muscle meat of the breast meat. The crop is part of the digestive tract of the turkey. So when we are filleting out the breast meat, we want to trim the crop away and try not to cut into it. To begin cutting the breast meat, we're going to start again using the top of that keel bone as our guide, and we're going to start cutting straight down until we reach the bottom of the bone, which then tees off. So we'll rotate our blade to the outside of the bird and work the bottom piece off. So let's start at the top here, using the bone as a guide. So you want to kind of angle your blade in towards the bone. That way you don't miss any meat. Now, if you do happen to miss some, no big deal. You can always come back in and trim that off. So the breast meat runs all the way down. I'm just going to run my blade the entire length of the keel bone, and I'm using the bone as a guide the whole time. I can tell with the tip of my knife that I've reached the bottom here. So I'm going to come back up here and finish this cut up top. Trim the meat away just a little bit up here by the crop section. And now we're going to rotate our blade and start cutting towards the outside of the bird to get the bottom piece of the breast. So really, I'm just tracing this bone to get the meat off. I'm going to use my hand just to feel where it's connected. Go back in, make my last little cut here. And now we've got the breast meat. So that's one side, and you can see very clearly that we didn't leave anything behind. We traced that keel bone straight down and then followed it around. On the breast meat, I do want to show you, on the back side, there is this natural separation in the muscle. This small piece is called the tenderloin, and that is a tender piece of meat on the turkey. It's up to you whether you'd like to package the breast meat and the tenderloin together or separate. I'm going to package them together. So this is one breast. There's another one just like it on the other side. So on this side, the process is the exact same. We're going to use the bone as our guide the whole way down, and then start peeling that muscle back so that you can see where your knife blade needs to run. We've got the bottom part of the breast meat free, so we're going to work up to free the top here. Remember, we're trimming around the crop. Just got to free the top of this breast meat. Okay. There's our other side of the breast meat, and we've got that tenderloin on the back side as well. So I'm going to package this up, and we've got both breasts. Now we're going to move on to the legs. The first step is to skin the legs out. So we're going to start by making a cut at the top and work our way down to the scaly part of the leg. We're going to work from the inside out again. Remember, that keeps our knife blade clean. When we're doing this, we're not pushing the tip of the knife blade towards ourselves. We're pulling out towards the outside of the bird to cut that skin. So we come all the way down to the scaly part of the leg. And now we're just going to finish skinning this out. We're going to skin all the way around the leg. So I'm using my offhand again to pull tension on the skin. It gives me a really clear spot to cut. And I'm going to try and peel some of this with my hand as well. Just peeling that skin away. And you want to peel pretty deep because this thigh runs all the way to the back side of the bird. So you're skinning all the way down to the spine. So now you can see we've made it all the way around. The skin's not attached here anymore on the back side. We're going to come all the way up and cut it to release it from this area near the joint. So we've got that all skinned out, and we're just going to work a little bit farther down on the back side of this thigh right here. Okay, we've got this leg completely skinned out. At this point, I'm going to remove the scaly part of the leg. I like to do this while it's still attached to the bird so that I have more leverage. I'm going to use my knife to cut the ligaments around the joint. You're just going to ring around this joint here. Once we cut all the way around it, we should be able to twist it off here. So I'm going to just give it some twisting action here. Got a few more pieces hanging on. We'll just cut that real quick, and it comes off nice and clean. You do have the option to use a saw, but when you use the knife, you don't get any bone fragments or sharp edges. Now at this point, you may choose to save the spur. If you're gonna save the spur, you would saw above and below the spur and then package that in borax. You can also choose to save the leg whole, where you would position it as if it were standing and dry it like that, so that you can use it as a tool while you're hunting next season to mimic turkeys scratching the ground. Now we're going to get the drumstick and the thigh detached from the body. To do that, I'm gonna start by cutting down the inner thigh until my knife blade hits the ball joint in the hip. I can feel with the tip of my knife that I can't go any farther because I've hit the hip joint. At this point, I'm gonna push down on the leg and pull the body of the bird in the opposite direction, and that exposes the ball joint, which you can see right here. Now I'm going to continue my cut past the joint and remove the rest of the leg. We're cutting beyond the hip joint and using this muscle as our guide. Got to free this from the skin, come back in and get the top. Okay. So now we've got our drumstick and our thigh meat here. I'm gonna package this whole, and then later when I cook it, I'm gonna cook it whole as well. The thighs do tend to have a lot of ligaments and tendons, so the best way to make this cut tender is to cook it low and slow. You could throw this whole thing in a pressure cooker or a crock pot, or cook it low and slow in the oven, and it's gonna allow the meat to separate from those tendons and be really tender. So we've got one thigh, we'll move on to the next. And processing out this thigh is the exact same as the other side. You can tell by using this method, we didn't leave a whole lot of meat behind. We've gotten everything that the bird has to offer us. We've got 2 thighs and drumsticks, and then we also have both breasts and the tenderloins. We also have our tail fan and our beard and our spurs to commemorate the harvest. So at this point, I'm going to throw this meat in a cooler, take it home for long-term storage, or for dinner tonight. If you would like more information on how to hunt turkeys in Kentucky, check out our website at FW.KY.GOV and look at our Learn to Hunt Turkey webpage.